see what sticks. But if a broken clock is right twice a day, then you're just waiting for it to chime and then pay attention to why it chimed and then why it's not chiming. And then you can figure it out from there. So, just that's kind of how I've been approaching it. That's how I approached the whole tour. So I had spots at a farmer's market. I had spots at coffee shops. I had spots at ones that I set up at more legit venues, kind of like the Nile, where everything was a little bit more formal. I did a festival, Endless Log Festival. I did a lot of different types of venues and types of shows in a lot of different places around the valley so that I could kind of feel out what was best for me, what I should kind of be doing, where I should be putting my energy, what makes me super nervous I don't really like, like all of those kinds of things. Because, just because something was effective doesn't necessarily mean that I should be doing it if it's going to suck up all my energy. So yeah, I think it was a great tour. I learned a ton, which was the whole goal. I mean, obviously our goal as independent authors a lot of times is sell more books. Because we want to make money off our book and also because we want to get it into the hands of people. So I think it was successful in that regard. And I think it was also successful because I was able to learn so much that I'm going to be able to take down the road. So it was awesome. I've been reflecting on it a lot in this new year. 2022 was a ridiculous year for me. So 2023 is going to have to be an incubation year or I'm just going to pass out. So...
Yeah. You never know where the year will take you.
I know. That's what people keep saying to me, and that scares me. It scares me. Let's do some writing updates. Patrick, did you bring anything new?
Yes, I brought something new.
Fantastic. Good man.
And I'll have you know that one of the scores I got on Tuesday for this poem was a 4.
Ooh. Out of 5, I presume.
10.
I know.
I was the second poet to go. When you're at a poetry slam and you are like the second or third poet out of 15, you might as well just consider it a rehearsal at that point, unless you're spectacular. And if you're spectacular, you might get into the second round. But even so, I got to write a new poem. I actually wrote this between 4 and 5 o'clock on Tuesday. So it was very exciting to write something that, it was like the old days, although now you're going to hear it. All your enemies suck. There's a reason Sherlock Holmes chose Moriarty and not the purse snatcher at the Piccadilly Circus. Holmes fought for dear life on the edge of a 1,000-foot Swiss waterfall and had to stealthily climb wet rocks once he vanquished his adversary. You might as well be pushing old ladies into the tank at the Red Lobster. Nobody would have taken Lex Luthor seriously if all his malevolent energies were directed at Jimmy Olsen's Instagram page. Batman wouldn't have been much of a crime fighter if he spurned the Joker so he could nab the guys who stole the hubcaps off the Batmobile. And Katniss Everdeen would have sold her bow and arrow for a hunger-free capital sellout if President Snow didn't make it his business to taunt her for 3 novels and an endless film franchise. It's time to get out of the cheap seats and into the arena. Rocky spent his time in a meat locker beating up dead cows so he would have a shot at the champ, not in case he got into a fight at the petting zoo. And while we're at it, your hench people leave a little to be desired. If you need a job done, you got to get a crew together. Last time I checked, nobody ever planned a heist where they needed a Showtime porn enthusiast, a spreader of especially lame rumors, or a stiff-armed mumbler who reeks of ditchweed. Nobody's going to make an action movie where the challenger fights her way up to you if that's all the crowd you've got. You need rogues and mercenaries, but what I see is bumblers who couldn't fight their way out of a hot ice cream sandwich. Where's the one-legged safecracker, the charming psychopath, or the femme fatale with a kill streak? If your crew isn't always one step away from knocking you off, then you're just not getting challenged. Up your players, up your game. So get out there and make yourself a nemesis, a Vader to your Kenobi, an Umbridge to your Dumbledore, a Monday to your Garfield. In the great video game of life, there's only glory when you win the boss battles. The treasure chests with the best loot aren't parked outside in front of the haunted tomb. If all you ever do is blunt your blade with dull toadies on the first screen, there's no way in Hyrule that you're ever going to level up.
I like it.
Better than a 4, I think.
Yeah, I think you should nerd slam it.
Well, I probably could, yeah.
Yeah, be a great nerd slam. Comic-Con, do they still do that?
unfortunately, the person that ran that passed away last year.
Oh, well, that is a very sad thing that I just brought up.
Mm-hmm.
And,
So, more news later on that, apparently.
I'll ask the locals and see if one of them's taking it on.
I don't know that any of our locals are. Maybe. I don't know. I'm kind of out of that game. I've been out of that game for a couple of years.
just a couple.
Just a couple.
Just one or two.
Just a couple.
Great poem, Patrick. I think it was better than a 4 as well.
Well, I got to read something new. The thing is, with some of these poetry slams, I've been doing this stuff. Well, I've been slamming for 25 years. I've been writing poetry for a couple of years before that, where I would occasionally read stuff at readings. So, I could just take out the greatest hits package and try to win with that. But once again, it's not as challenging as coming up with a new thing and seeing if you'll crash and burn with it. Now, if there was a tournament or something like that, I probably wouldn't be pulling out something new.
Yeah, makes sense. Any plans on doing any big slams?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I think 2022 is probably more slams than I've done in over 10 years. So,
Good for you. What inspired you to get back out there?
well, the Klute inspired me to get back out there, as a matter of fact. He got me into the Ghost Poetry Show, and he was always having me go to the Maricopa slams and stuff like that, so it was like a slow revival for me to come back and do some slams. And so it's fun to do. The problem with the ones in Maricopa is that they're in Maricopa. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's a long drive. But,
Yeah, I bet.
They do a good show.
I haven't been out to that one. I'm going to have to make it out there. I haven't been out to Ghost either, but I've heard it's a great show.
I don't know when the next one is, but I think it's
Aren't they every 2 weeks?
20. Yeah, occasionally it's every. Well, I mean, most of the time it's every 2 weeks. I know there was just one in December, and I think maybe one in November. So, but that's probably because of the holidays. So yes, I'll have to find that out because that's. We could always use more of an audience. Well, I mean, we don't need more of an audience. And it's not even we. It's not my slam. It's run really well. I'm just taking credit for someone else's work.
I don't think it's taking credit. I think the community taking ownership
Yeah.
of something and being like it's ours is a natural and good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing to use a possessive pronoun right there.
Yes.
You weren't trying to claim their finances or
Right,
anything.
exactly. With a lot of poetry slams and poetry events, usually it takes a lot of time to build up an audience, and the fact that the people at the Ghost Poetry Show did it as quickly as they could and they made it as successful as they did in a short amount of time it's surprising. I know, and because I've seen a lot of poetry events where nothing happened.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think they can just start a show and make it happen, and sometimes they have 3 people in the audience.
Yep. Been there. Lady asleep in the front row. It's tragic. She woke up with questions. It was insane. We set out to fail, people. We set out to fail.